Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. I'm going to show you how to make this really fun, pretty fast too, autumn card today. This uses the autumn leaves stamp set. There's no dies. It's super, super simple, okay? So this one, I'll just show you the colors that I have. Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, Copper Clay, and Crushed Curry. Pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to just pick one image to start with. And we're also black. We're going to use this one to begin. Okay, and so I have an inside piece, have my outside piece, and then I have I believe this is a 1.5. Yep, 1.5 inch by 5.5 inch piece. This is for our sentiment. Okay, so to start, we're going to take our lightest color. We'll go with Crushed Curry to begin. We're going to ink this in Crushed Curry. We're going to open up our Pumpkin Pie. We're going to grab a sponge dauber. Just add a little color. We have Crushed Curry, and that's a little bit off, but that's okay. We're just going to add some Pumpkin Pie ink kind of around, not anywhere specific, but we're going to stamp, and we're going to stamp again. Okay, and I think that's going to be it. We're going to close our Crushed Curry. The only thing you really need to do is you're going to want to go to a darker color. So lighter first, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and ink into my Pumpkin Pie because I'm kind of okay with it. And then I'm going to grab my Cajun Craze and I'm going to go to a little bit darker. I'm going to grab a different dauber and I'm going to just add kind of some in the center, a little bit on the edge. And also you kind of just softening the edges. So since this one was darker, I'm going to put darker over here. Lighter. And we have that little line there, but that's okay. It's not really that big of a deal. And then I'm going to go to Old Olive. Now, since I'm going to a completely different shade, I'm going to clean my stamp. So I'm just wiping this off. Okay, so Old Olive, and also, you know what? I didn't even think of this. We don't want to do that. We go to a different type of a stamp. Leave that one there. We will go to the broadleaf. So, Old Olive. Now, another thing you can do too, if you want, and darn it, I was gonna say I lost my scrap. I'm gonna stamp off. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted. Move this over. Ink it, stamp off. Then I'm going to open my Mossy Meadow, find a green dauber, and I'm just adding a little bit of green. So kind of for some variations. So stamping. Stamping. It doesn't really matter because we're only going to use part of this. I'm going to ink in Old Olive again, stamp off, Mossy Meadow, kind of bring a little bit more to one side. It doesn't even matter if it's one-sided, it's more than one side, because you're going to kind of change it around. I think I'm going to do one more, and I want to go back and add one more lighter one. Okay, that's enough for that. Let me wipe him off. And we're going to go back. I'm going to do a Pumpkin Pie and I think a little bit of Copper Clay. So I'm bringing this guy back again. I'm going to stamp him off and a little Copper Clay. No, I'm going to stick with Cajun Craze. I fibbed. So Cajun Craze, and then just kind of adding, kind of try to stick to one side if I can, and then just maybe a little bit in the center. That's better. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Now, I did use one other one, and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so let me clean this. And I'm gonna grab one more block because I also did this on the sentiment. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna grab our black lines. Okay, so for this one I did, okay, cherry, I was trying to think there for a second, cherry cobbler and a little bit of copper clay. All right, so this is gonna move over. I'm gonna be on this guy now. So cherry cobbler, but I'm gonna stamp off. Then I'm gonna grab my copper clay and I'm gonna grab a clean dauber and just add a little bit. Also, if you end up with like a little smudge, like there was a big smudge there, you kind of just clean it off a little bit. Looks good. I'm gonna do a second stamp. Okay, now I'm going to, before I finish up with that, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna now grab, everything else will be black except for this one. I'm gonna grab the veins and I'm gonna stamp that in copper clay. Okay, perfect. And my sentiment. So for this one, I went with a grateful heart. You can kind of do whatever you want. I could do I'm thankful. Do that one just to switch it up. And here, I'm going to try to kind of just line this up so it's somewhat straight. I feel like that's just not inked enough. Perfect. Okay. Now, I did black. If you don't like black, you could do copper clay for all of these. It kind of just depends, but I felt like the black just gave it just a little bit more. So I'm going to grab my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to grab these two stamps. And then you can add whatever else you'd like to on the inside. All right, so move him over for a moment. And I'm going to do these on the larger or the more narrow leaves. Remember, we are trimming, so it doesn't really matter if you miss a middle part, and we're going to do something else as well. Okay, so there's one. You wipe this off. And one more. Same with the maple. Okay, so just inking it up and following the direction of the stamp. Okay, so you're like, Rach, that's great, but it's very dark, and I feel like it sticks out, but just give me 1 minute. So we're finished with all of our inks, and now we're going to take this up a notch by using one of the 3D embossing folders, or essential 3D embossing folders. I'm going to put this in, and I always line up the bottom of my paper with that line. We're going to run this through. Okay, so that alone definitely took it up a notch. But now we're going to bring our copper clay back for one more moment with a little blending brush. Doesn't need to be a lot of ink, remember that. And we're going to just hit just the edges, because no matter what, we're going to have edges because we're going to trim this. And then I kind of just took and went over a couple of my spots just to give a little more color. And if you want to go a step further, you could take, we'll say, this is copper clay. Yes. You could take your brush tip and kind of give a couple splatters. This works really well with the Stampin' blends as well, if you wanted to try that. Actually, I think I'm gonna, let me try that one. My dark Stampin' blend. You just want to be careful because you want to be gentle with your tip. All right. Okay, so then we're going to trim this down. So this is about 1 inch. This is about 2 inches. Let me see if I'm fibbing, but 1.25 inches. They kind of change a little bit with the embossing. So 1 inch and about 5/8 and 1.25 inches. So I'm going to grab my trimmer. And this is going to be 1 5/8. That's for the top. And bottom is 1 1/4. So you could always take this piece and put it on the inside if you wanted to. Just depends on what you want to do. I'm just gonna get the edge just to get rid of some of that ink. Perfect. Okay, and now we're going to assemble our card. So you wanted to, you're going to put obviously your white panel in there, but you could use this little piece. You could put a strip at the top and the bottom. All right, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of see how we want this first. So this is going to go all the way across. So I should have mentioned, this is 4 1/4 by 5.5. So it is a full sheet. Make sure it lines up. And then the other thing you could do if you wanted to, you can even feather the edges of this. I'm going to show you what I mean. So you just take your bone folder, you kind of rough it up just like that. Kind of gives you that like an old worn paper. And same here. All right, so top, bottom, liquid glue. We're going to put this down first. All right, so if we're down here, usually what I do is this, I kind of eyeball it. I'm going to go down just a little bit. This is probably approximately 1 1/4. Okay, now you do want this to kind of stick up a little bit, so you definitely want to hit it with a good amount of glue because you do have a lot of embossing there, but you don't necessarily want the edges to be flat. And I mean these edges here. Okay, so I kind of wiggle it where I want it, press in the middle, but I don't really press this bottom part or any of this bottom part down. I kind of leave that stick up. Same here, I'm kind of just hitting in the center. Oh, look, I went a little too low on this one. That's okay. I'll just bring this down so it kind of matches a little bit more. No biggie. So these I overlapped. I probably could have given that a little bit more, but no big deal. I'll just adjust this just a teeny bit. And again, I'm just pulling these pieces up here. So I'm kind of pressing down and cornering the edge. There you go. Just like that. Now, if you want to finish this off, the other thing you can do is you can add some little embellishments. These are very, I'm sure, retired. I can't believe if they possibly are not retired. That would shock me. But champagne rhinestones, basic jewels. I'm going to just pick a couple of these up. Put them in a couple scattered places. I've been trying not to buy any other embellishments until I go through what I have. And Lord knows I have a plenty. So a couple of those on there. And that pretty much wraps it up. So again, you can take that other piece that we had left over, you can cut it, you can put it in the center. Let me just get a couple of these little things out of the way so you can see what's going on here. And that is our card. So, you have one you prefer? Kind of like this part better than this a little bit, but I still think it's pretty regardless. No matter what, when you're making an autumn card, you really can't go wrong because there's so many different colors depending on where you live in the world, in the United States, wherever the case may be. It's a beautiful card to celebrate autumn, the fall foliage, which I hope will be coming here to Maryland sometime in the next week would be fabulous. We have had temperatures that are so hot. It is truly ridiculous. We finally did close our pool today, which is sad, but it's supposed to rain for the next 3 days. We haven't had rain in, I can't even tell you how long it's been since we've had rain. Our grass is crunchy again. We kind of started the summer with crunchy grass and we're ending the summer with crunchy grass, but we're hoping fall temperatures come back in the next week or so. So I would just like to thank you so much for stopping by and watching me create this card. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave them in the description box below, or not description, in the comment section below the description box. If you're new here, I would love for you to follow me. All you have to do is click the subscribe button. Just make sure you turn on the bell for notifications when I make a new video. It will certainly make you aware. If you have any suggestions for a card you'd like to see made, or if you have any comments, or if you'd like to buy any of the supplies to make this, I will link everything below here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.